Hi everybody, this is Charlie again. I think we picked up a couple people since the last sound check, so if you would like to chat in and let me know how the sound is for you. If you haven't already, you can do that. Sorry for the pause, I cannot type and talk at the same time. Okay, looks like the sound is good for everybody. We're just kind of wrapping everything up and we're going to get started here in just a second with the webinar. And according to our poll, it looks like most people are okay with legal reference, some not really, and at least one person says they're very good at it, so good for you. All right, I'm just going to change the screen over to our presentation screen and we'll get started. Okay, thank you all for being with us today. My name is Charlie Taylor. I'm one of the CE consultants here at KDLA. I'll be facilitating the webinar, helping out with any technical issues. If you have any of that, chat those in. Our presenter for today is Jennifer Frazier. She is the state law librarian for Kentucky. We are extremely pleased to have her here with us, sharing her time and expertise. If you have any questions for Jennifer as she goes along, go ahead and chat those in. We'll be answering them as we go. At the end of today's webinar, you will have an opportunity to download these slides. And for our live attendees, you'll be getting a certificate of attendance in an email from me within just a couple of days. Additionally, we're recording this webinar and it will be posted on our archive webinars page, hopefully within about a week's time. So you'll be able to kind of review anything that we've talked about today or share it with your colleagues. So I think that's it with everything said. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Jennifer.
Hi, everyone. This is my first webinar like this. I was telling Charlie earlier, it feels a little bit like we're almost recording a podcast. So hopefully I can do this all right. And if you, again, have any questions, just throw them out there. And I guess I'll just go ahead and get started. There's my contact information, which, again, if you have any questions afterwards or any specific questions that come up during the course of any reference work you're doing, you're welcome to give me a call or send me an email, and I'll do my best to respond as quickly as I can. Okay, so just sort of to start, primary law is authority that issues directly from a lawmaking body. So legislation, reports of litigated cases, the governor's executive orders, executive journal, and so most of what we're going to talk about is going to be the primary law. Secondary law is stuff that can actually be helpful to non-attorneys because it explains things, but it can also be written in a lot of legalese, so they're expecting the people to have at least a basic understanding of the law when they write some of the treatises. And again, I just talked about secondary law. That's your legal dictionaries, legal encyclopedias, and treatises and stuff. So jumping right into case law, it's actually much easier for me to go ahead and just go straight into the internet and show you everything from there. So let me see if I can, not the way to do it, sorry. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure.
Looks like you need an S, an HTTPS. I think that's the only thing that I see missing. Just give us 1 second, everybody. I'm going to mute the mic while we work this out. It's working in one browser. Okay.
All right, everybody. Sorry about that. Okay, so this is the Court of Justice website, and this is where I usually start, and it's a good place to start. So when you're searching for case law, the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeals are the only two locations that you're going to be able to find online. Anything from district and circuit court is still kept in the files in the clerk's office. And so if somebody's looking for those kinds of records, you would have to direct them to the specific county in the specific circuit clerk's office in the county where they're looking for those records. Although we do have e-filing, it is limited right now to attorneys, and so there's not really much that they can search online. What little is here I will show you, but for right now, looking at opinions, you would want to go to Supreme Court or Court of Appeals. Down over here, you've got Supreme Court case information and searchable opinions. I'll show you searchable opinions first. If anybody who's seen me do this before, I will tell you this is absolutely one of the worst search engines possible. I think it was done probably in 1996 and doesn't look like it's been updated since then. But I always use SteelVest as my search. SteelVest is the main case in Kentucky on summary judgment. And when you type in SteelVest, all it gives you over here is the case numbers. I don't even know what case number SteelVest is. I don't think that the people who authored the opinion would be able to tell you the case number of it. So it's not a very helpful search engine. But if you go back to where it has Supreme Court case information, this is where you can actually search by the litigants, by the case number, by an attorney name. So under litigants, you would actually be able to type in SteelVest here and find the different SteelVest cases from 1990 and 1994. The main problem, though, is when you go to the Supreme Court cases here, they do not have the links to the PDFs. Again, I have really no idea why. The Court of Appeals website actually does have the links to the PDF of the opinion, but for some reason the Supreme Court does not. So you would actually have to get the case number and go back to the other site to get it. So this is where Google Scholar comes in much more handy. Google Scholar allows you to actually search case law all over the country. And so it already knows that we're in Kentucky, so Kentucky courts is one of my first selections, or the federal court, or you can select specific courts. So if you want to just look at the Kentucky Supreme Court, instead of even the Kentucky Court of Appeals, you can select that and do your search. And then it actually brings up the SteelVest case. And you can click on it, and it is a actual readable opinion. Again, there's not that often when you're going to have a call for somebody coming in off of the street into the libraries looking for this, but occasionally there is, and this is the best place to find case law. Also, if you have somebody who thinks that they want to do their own legal research, you can sit them down with Google Scholar and explain how to pick their court so that they're actually looking at the right one, and you can do it by topic. And SteelVest comes up as first one again, and Paintsville Hospital, which is actually cited in the SteelVest case. You can actually, it's cited by 2,179 different cases have cited to SteelVest. You can look at how it was cited, and you can look at related articles. Because the other thing that you can actually do on Google Scholar is an article search. Let me go back to the main page. So there you can search articles here. And it would be much nicer if you could do this somehow by state, but you can't. But you can take out the patents and take out the citations. You can look at the years, sort it by relevance. But the best thing is if it's a free PDF online, it's got the link right over here to the side, and it'll take you straight into the actual article. And then if some places may have something like Hein Online, I'm not going to sit here and make us wait for that entire thing to download, but so if it doesn't have anything, then like this one right here, there's no free PDF. Or this one, there is a free PDF, but there's also 11 other versions available. So if you have something like Hein Online or a subscription service that it's available on, this right here will tell you all of the different places that you can get the article or that your patrons can get the article. So going back to the Court of Justice website, that is really what I recommend if you're going to be doing case searching, is to go out to Google Scholar to do it.
Close that tab.
Okay. There we go. For some reason, this link is not working to take me back, so I've just got to click all the way back through it. All right, some other things that you can find here on the Supreme Court's link. The oral arguments calendar. So if you have specific cases, I know that when the Kenton County Library case was being argued, that was a lot of interest to everybody. You can check the calendar to see where it's listed, and you can also, this is where you find the briefs. So there, the appellant brief has been scanned and is hidden as a PDF link under the Supreme Court Oral Arguments Calendar. Again, I don't run the page, so I don't know exactly why they do it that way. The other place that you can get them is Chase Law School at NKU has them, but I think they're a little bit behind on scanning them, and they only scan the briefs for published opinions. And since the briefs are on here for the oral argument calendar, they don't know whether they'll be published or not yet, so you actually can find more briefs on here than what they have in their collection. The oral arguments are live streamed, but only available during the actual time of the argument. They do not archive them, and there's no way to see them once they are over and done with. If you come in and there's no arguments, this is what you're going to see, and then you can click here to go to the oral arguments calendar and see. We do not have court week in November, but they do have some in December, so you can see if there's anything interesting in December that you want to just pop in and watch. But they only have a couple of cases in December. But, you know, there was quite a few Bashir versus Bevin cases that people were somewhat interested in. There's probably going to be a few more Bashir versus Bevin cases that people may be interested in. So you can always just kind of keep an eye on the calendar if you're wanting to watch any of the opinions or arguments. Okay, so again, here we're just back on the main page. I am going to take you back to the Supreme Court page just one last time. The Supreme Court minutes is when the opinions are actually published. It has a very brief description of the question presented and then the link to the actual opinion. So these are easier or more useful when it's something like, oh, there was a case a couple of months ago about the dog bite case, and I don't remember exactly when it was. You can sit them down and say, well, here's the Supreme Court minutes, and let them page through it and see if they can figure out which case it is that they were talking about, because they never get the years right. They never get the, they saw in a newspaper article 6 months ago and think it was last week. We all know how that goes. Here's the Supreme Court briefs, but this takes you out to NKU's website where you can do a search on them. But again, they're not as extensive as, they go back farther, but they're not as extensive as the ones that the Supreme Court is now putting up because they only do the published opinions. The monthly case summary report is a longer summary of what the different opinions are about, and then it also does have the link that goes back to the opinion that was also linked in the Supreme Court minutes. So this is another place you can send somebody if they have a little bit more idea of what they're looking for. But the Supreme Court minutes are going to be more up to date because the opinion summaries have to be written by the law clerks, sent to me. I have to edit them. put in all the links and then get them posted. And they just sent me August and September last week, so neither one of those are up yet. You can look at the district map. You know, if somebody's like, well, who's my Supreme Court justice? This gives you all of the different areas, the justices of the High Court, going all the way back. This is just a historical thing. You know, the Supreme Court district map should actually have a list of who's where, but they don't. You have to click on the individual justices' biographies, which are linked here, and they're their pictures. Okay, so I'm actually going to go back now to the main page. A lot of the stuff that's on here is things that the public can actually use, and I'm going to sort of go through some of that. Record expungement. You probably have gotten questions about records expungement. There's been a lot of changes to it with the felony expungement. A couple of years ago, they put in a new requirement that you actually have to have a certified court record to present to the judge to get the expungement. And so if people have questions about record expungement, I really just recommend going straight here to the record expungement link on this page and then letting them read this, because here's how to apply for the certificate. There's frequently asked questions. It talks about the felony expungement, and they can actually apply from this website for these forms. The form is only good for, I believe, 60 days. Sorry, it's only valid for 30 days, but it can take up to 60 days to get it back. So that's where the 60 days comes in. And yes, there have been people who've waited past the 30 days and they have to pay the money to get the expungement certificate again, because it only is valid for those 30 days. And then the felony expungement has a bit more to it, and so there's a lot more here. Its cost is extremely high. It's $500 to apply for that, and but it's still a useful tool for somebody who really needs it. Any questions at all real quick before I just, okay, I'll keep on going. So the public court records is really all you can get, where I was talking about and yes, you have to do that every time. So this is about the only thing that the public can actually get from the filings that are being done by the attorneys at this point. It hopefully will eventually broaden, especially as pro se litigants are allowed to start to file. But the lawyers are actually able to get a lot more information than the public can right now. Because all you will be able to do is do a name search. You could possibly do a search by case or search by citation. But to search by citation, you have to actually have like the full citation number, not just like a case number. So it pretty much has to be the citation that you or someone you know received in order to do that. And all the information that you get is whether or not there's something coming up in the near future. You know, these don't have anything coming up, so all you know is there is a case that was filed. You can limit it by different counties, because, I mean, like a name like John Smith that doesn't have anything going on in Allen County. Doesn't mean there's never been a John Smith in Allen County Court. It just means he doesn't have anything currently open going on that would come up in this search. If they want previous records for John Smith, they would need to contact the circuit clerk's office, probably have more information than just the name, because the names, unless it's unique enough, is going to pull up a bunch of records. And then if the record is usually more than 10 years old, they would have to contact the Kentucky Department for Libraries and Archives here to actually get the records pulled from the Records Center, because all of the Court of Justice records Usually it's about 10 years. Sometimes it may be 15 years still in the clerk's office, and anything older than that is at the record center. But they keep all of our records at the record center, and if they're really old, in the archive itself. So if they're looking for that kind of old stuff, you need to send them to the clerk's office. Clerk's office should have an accessioning number, so that helps with the record center finding the record itself. Okay, so language access. If you have someone who comes into the library who actually cannot speak very good English, needs an interpreter, needs help with legal filings and legal paperwork, your best bet is going to be to send them to the circuit clerk's office, because the circuit clerk has an online request system that they can use to send to the administrative office of the courts to ask for an interpreter. They are entitled to have an interpreter in court to help them to communicate with the judge and communicate with the court. There are some documents that have already been translated, because like as you can see here, filing a complaint, and then it's got several different languages. They are working on filing or translating what they call essential documents and having those available. So again, if you have someone who has language difficulties or language barriers that has something that looks like a legal document, send them to the clerk's office so that the clerk can help them try and get an interpreter. And just those languages that were listed are not the only languages that AOC deals with. AOC has actually dealt with quite a few languages that like 6 people speak in the entire world. We just happen to have somebody show up in court that spoke one. So they will do everything they can to find someone to help translate even obscure languages. So the trial dockets are similar to the court records, but this is actually going to tell you everything that's on a docket in a specific county on a specific day. So where this is most helpful is, somebody comes in, oh, I lost my ticket and I can't remember if my trial date's today or tomorrow, or it will not let you look in the past, though, which I think is kind of a flaw in the system. But so we'll just look at Allen County. Here's their dockets for today. Wasn't very much. They might not even have anything tomorrow. They do still have some stuff going on tomorrow. So you can search by county, district or circuit. See, district court's not meeting in Allen County tomorrow. That makes sense because a lot of the smaller counties don't meet every single day because there really isn't a need. Then, of course, you've got places like Jefferson County where it's multiple pages. 21 pages of the docket. So, I have used this, like I said, usually it's somebody who can't exactly remember when they were supposed to be there, or they can't remember what courtroom they're in, and so they can go on here and find out exactly where they're going. Somebody may be coming in wanting to know, if this Rayona Turner, here's all of the charges that she's being arraigned on tomorrow or Monday in Jefferson Circuit Court. So it can be useful, and it something your patrons may actually want to see. Now, if you go over here for information for the public, a lot of it is similar. It's actually all of that is the same. What's different is the Now, I apologize. I always get this confused because it makes more sense for it to be under the public, but it's actually over here. Excuse me. Under helpful links down at the very bottom, representing yourself in court. And so representing yourself in court is a place where you can send your patrons when they are pro se, because all of the stuff over here under resources is limited to those things that would actually help them. So like under publications, there are way more publications than this that AOC actually puts out, but these are the publications that are going to be most helpful to the pro se litigants. Again, Your Day in Court, a self-represented litigant's guide to the Kentucky courts, was something that we designed to kind of give them a brief overview of the court. You know, what should you wear? How do you act? Who should you bring with you? Some common legal terms. The sample layout of the courtroom, which is not going to be the same for every place, but it's, you know, close enough that it feels a little less intimidating if they kind of know when they go in that the jury's over here and the judge is over there. And then Small Claims Handbook talks about how to file small claims. Basic Kentucky probate procedures. So that's name changes, that is wills and trusts, but it also talks about guardianship and conservatorship because those would all be in probate court. Domestic violence, how to file, basic appellate procedure, which is something you also get a lot of patrons walking in and asking about because they may be unhappy with their ruling in their case, and so they need to know, well, what do I do next? Well, they have two choices. They can appeal it if they're unhappy with what actually happened in the result, or if they feel like the judge was violating his judicial ethics and completely unfair, they can file a complaint with the Judicial Ethics Commission. And then the judicial branch at a glance, because a lot of people don't actually understand, you know, Kentucky's court system. We have 4 different courts in Kentucky. The district court is the lowest, and then the circuit, Court of Appeals, and Supreme Court, and it just sort of talks about that layout. Going back just briefly to the Judicial Conduct Commission, here under Commissions and Committees, and this is the information about how to file a complaint. So if they really believe that the judge treated them unfairly and violated his ethical obligations, they can file a complaint. I mean, they can file a complaint anyways, but if they don't actually show that the judge violated his ethical duties, they're not going to get anywhere with it. But sometimes they feel better just filing a complaint. The legal aid societies are here as a resource, so it's got a list with all the phone numbers, and it's got links to their actual websites, which are helpful because, like, Legal Aid of the Bluegrass is a gigantic portion of the state of Kentucky, so it may not always seem logical which counties fall under Legal Aid of the Bluegrass, because it stretches all the way up from Boone County and the Ohio Valley area up there down to let's see, they don't have their map either. But I'll show you the map of it on another page. The Office of the Circuit Court Clerks, because that is going to be one of the biggest resources for where do I file this? How do I pay my fees? I need to reschedule my court date because I didn't pay my traffic ticket on time. All of that has to be done through the Circuit Clerk's office.
Is this also going to be where you would send people who are interested in self-filing for divorce? Or is it?
Well, no, actually, because they are supposed to have some forms on here, but they've not completed them, but I will take them to another website where they can see that. And then there's also some common legal terms. I'm going to go show under resources, legal forms, because sometimes they actually know what they're looking for, or they want there to be a form to help them do stuff. So then you can just send them to the legal forms, let them look at them themselves, and try and figure out if this is something that's going to help them. They can be sorted by category, although the categories are not great. Like this one that just says general was pretty much anything that they weren't sure where it went, they kind of stuck underneath of there. You know, the power of attorney for medical school decision making is actually a form that gets used quite a lot. Like, I'm going on vacation, my kids are staying with my mom and dad, but I want to be able to, for them to, if they have to take them to the doctor or anything like that, that's the form for that. And sometimes people are like, well, I have to go into rehab and I'm going to be leaving my kids with my sister for the next 6 months, and they need to be able to sign forms and things. This actually is a power of attorney that should allow them to do that. Some schools don't always honor it. which I don't actually know why, because it is an official form. And see, as you can see here, there's nothing on here that says family. There's nothing on here that says divorce. The closest you've got is just civil, which is probably any forms that we have that actually do that are going to be stuck here. Yeah, dissolution of marriage, findings of fact, conclusion of law. That's not even what you file to start things. This is actually what the judge fills out to finalize the divorce. So, and then there's some of these child support forms, but again, they're not 100%. There is the cabinets form there. So, where I would actually tell someone to go is kyjustice.org. kyjustice.org is the Legal Aid Network of Kentucky. So it's all 4 of the legal aid societies use this page kind of as their portal to start people out. And it has all kinds of forms and other information on it. So going to helpful organizations, these are all of the legal aid over here. And when you click on one, it'll take you out to their website. But you can search there's the map. So this is where the actual offices are located, which is not still entirely helpful. But you can search specific counties, and it tells you there Bath County or Bell County is part of Apple Red. The map is really slow coming up, and that just is a connection thing, I would say. So a lot of times people have no idea what legal aid society they use, but you can find out from the website here. So they usually have the most popular content over here, and then the legal information section with, again, the popular ones. If their person is a veteran, there's free legal advice, and there's all kinds of other services that veterans get. So if you can find that out from them when you're talking to them, you could definitely refer to them to this, because they work with the Veterans Affairs coordinators throughout the state that can help them with not just legal issues, medical issues, social workers. There's a whole cadre of services that the VA offers that legal aid is trying to get veterans to use, because it helps them on lots of levels. But so you can take them here to the legal information, and this is where the topic library is. Now, I am not 100% happy with this topic library, because see, family law is going to be one of your biggest ones. When you click on family law, it says no articles are filed directly under family law. But if you look to the side under family law, here's all of the topics. It's just because nothing was filed directly under that family law title when they created this page, it says that there's no topics, but here's everything. So the divorce and the separation, there's 21 different things on divorce, including things in Spanish. You know, there's, oh, I jumped all the way to the end. So one of the other things that they have, here it is, interactive forms for divorce. And that's also, you'd be able to also find it under self-help forms. Oh, see, this is one of the reasons why I try to do this live instead of just using from the PowerPoints, is because it's being revised. The other thing that you can do, Jefferson County has a packet of divorce forms that I believe is either $10 or $15 that can be purchased from the circuit clerk's office. They are technically specific to Jefferson County and only fully approved in Jefferson County, but they are going to be closer to what is needed in every other county in the state than something they would get off, say, LegalZoom or Pro Bono Net or any of the other, just go on Google and type in, I want a divorce in Kentucky, and then it pops up with these forms that they have to pay hundreds of dollars for. So if they're trying to do something like that, you can always refer them to Jefferson County where they can at least get those forms. And again, it's going to be much closer to what every other judge in the state sees than some of the stuff that you can get online for 10 times the price. So under self-help forms, a lot of these are through videos. And these videos are really great. I'm just going to play it for a second for you. It doesn't even matter if it doesn't have the sound, because the way the grant worked for these is they have pictures that go along with what is being said to try and assist those with language barriers, or who maybe don't have an education level that they would quite understand, or you couldn't even just read the page because, some of their patrons can't read. So they have little icons that go along with a lot of the videos that actually kind of help explains it. And again, that was part of a grant that they got several years ago. Here's the Jefferson County forms, still also available online, even though the full self-help forms aren't. The VS 300 form is something that is required by the Department for Vital Statistics, and it has a very 25% cotton bond paper with visible watermark. It's resume paper, and that's what it says here in the very next line. It's just thick, regular resume paper that has the watermark on it, that's what they have to use to print out the final certificate of divorce and turn it into vital statistics, because without that, the divorce is actually not considered official with the state of Kentucky if the vital statistics department doesn't have a file on it. Okay, so then they also have the Ask a Lawyer. This is pretty new. And what they can do is actually log in, and they do try to monitor to make sure that it's somebody who would meet the requirements for legal aid, like the poverty guidelines and things like that. But they can submit their questions, and volunteer lawyers will actually read the questions and can give legal advice. And then, as some of you know, there's normally a little pop-up down here that says speak with a librarian, because myself, KDLA, Chase Law School, and UK Law School are part of a program with this website where they can, if somebody's manning the chat, actually ask questions to the librarians, and the librarians can refer them to a lot of the different sources that I've actually been showing you today. So if you get a patron in and you just really aren't sure what they're asking, you really don't think you can help them, if you can get them to this website, they can try and ask a librarian, or they can try and ask a lawyer. And then there is, again, a lot of good information under legal information. And then I want to show you one more thing, if I can figure out where they've hidden it, because they keep moving it around. We do have a TurboTax type avatar that is supposed to do kind of a virtual reference interview to help show them where the information is. Oh, see, it's one of these guys. But the numbers aren't showing up. Here, search for legal resources. And you can click here to use the tool. And again, a little avatar pops up, and it's kind of, like I said, it's very TurboTax-ish, where they ask you questions and you type in the things, and then it brings up what information it has and takes you out to websites and forms. It appears to be having a little trouble loading as well. Eventually she would pop up here and you could type in information and start, they could start using that. And again, that was designed entirely for somebody, honestly, to come into a library and be given to this resource, so that either the librarian could help them find a resource in the library, or it would guide them to stuff on the Court of Justice website or the Legal Aid's website. It links to the different videos and everything like that. All right. Don't know where. This is completely because I don't know how to use the system. Where did the PowerPoints go? How do I get it back?
And click that little.
Do I stop sharing? Okay. And I apologize. I'm just going to. So, finding case law on other places besides just the Court of Justice's website. Most courts actually do have their own. Yeah, I didn't think that was right. I was just kind of guessing. SupremeCourt.gov, not US. Again, they have an oral arguments calendar. They have transcripts. They have their rulings and filings. The opinions is usually what most people go for. If there is a big case that is like going right at the time, they usually have like a Twitter feed with updates as the case is coming down. So the U.S. Supreme Court opinions can be found here. PACER is the federal court's filing system that was used kind of the way of the e-filing in Kentucky is done, but it actually can also be used to search case filings and opinions. It's really much more extensive than what we have statewide, so you can find like all of the documents that have been filed in most federal courts from district all the way up in the PACER account. PACER usually requires that you create an account. It has now gone up to, I want to say, 12 or 15 cents a page, but it's like pretty much for every click that you do on the website, that counts as a page. It's not just printing it off, it's just everything you open and everything you look at. The minimum is $10.25, and then if you stay under that, they don't charge you. If you go over $10, then they start charging. You have to put in a credit card or a Pro card or whatever your institutions use in order to continue to use PACER. So a lot of people don't like PACER because it is a per click charge, and I think they're actually being sued by some places because it's too expensive. But we do find it occasionally useful when we're looking for cases that have been filed in the federal courts. But each circuit also usually has its own website. There's Pacer, there's e-filing, there's opinions and oral arguments. So you don't have to always go through Pacer for any of this stuff. A lot of it's on here anyways. So the Cornell Law School has this Legal Information Institute, and it's a really helpful meta site, kind of a directory of like all of the laws that are out there. And so you can go from here's obviously the federal stuff starts it, but then you can jump out into the states. And where this directs you to is whatever the official statute or case law is per state. So if you go to Kentucky, what it's going to give you, this is actually LRC's website, this is the Supreme Court's website, the administrative regulations are also on LRC's website, and these are just some additional collections. Excuse me. So if you're not really entirely sure, Cornell is a good meta site to start with. U of L Law Library, the Brandeis Law Library, has a very good meta site that you can also start with. It has links to Kentucky law and some other states as well. But again, most of them just link back to the official Supreme Court or LRC's library web pages. All right, again, I'm trying to get back to. And I apologize that I'm running through the slides really quick. I'm just trying to remember everything. I'm so used to using those arrow keys. So I've shown you all this. This is what Pacer looks like. Again, I don't usually end up having to pay for it because we don't search it that often. But if it's something that you're worried that your patrons are going to get on and just start clicking away, which they probably would, it's not something you probably want to actually put onto a website that they can access. We have talked about the briefs. Forms. Trial document information. I may actually be ahead of schedule. Yay! I am. I finished a little bit ahead of schedule. And then the next part on the 30th it will be about statutes, Attorney General's website, Secretary of State's website, and some of the other resources in Kentucky on government websites. So any questions? I know a lot of that was mostly on the Court of Justice website.
Any questions anybody has for Jennifer, or maybe anything about the websites, anything you'd like to know about them, or any what would you do if somebody asked you this kind of question? While you're thinking about that, I'll go ahead and move through our final slides here. We have to thank the Institute of Museum and Library Services for helping us produce this webinar today. And I just wanted to draw your attention to our CE events calendar. Go ahead and be looking for some upcoming trainings here in the next couple weeks. And I'm going to go ahead and shift us over to the final layout for today, where you'll be able to download those slides that you just saw. So we've got screenshots on there of the slide, all the websites that we looked at today. You can download that in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. And just a reminder, our live attendees will be getting a certificate of attendance for being with us today, as well as a link to a survey. Any questions anybody has? Thank you, Malta, and our reference team here at KDLA.
Thank you very much.
Just going to wait for a second and see if these are questions coming in. Okay, great, Betty. Every aspect of librarianship it's amazing how much everybody knows. I'm always medical librarians, legal, downstairs, the people who know about the state publications. It's amazing. There's just so much locked in those heads. Okay, I don't see any questions coming in. Looks like we've just got great feedback. So we're finished a little early today, which is always a good thing. So please come back and join us for part 2 of Legal Reference. That will be on November the 30th, as Jennifer said, at 2 o'clock. And again, this session was recorded. The next one will be as well. So you can refer back to those if you kind of thought, well, I remember that, but not really. So you'll be able to refer back to that. It should be up on our website in the next few days. So, okay, I think we're done for today. Everybody, thank you very much for attending. Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you all for having me. I'm glad it was helpful.
And we'll see you all in 2 weeks. Have a great afternoon.